Kings get the monuments. Kings get the epic biopics. Kings get the chapters in every textbook. But some of the most terrifying, ruthless, and flat-out brilliant rulers in the history of the world were women. We are talking about queens who buried their rivals alive, empresses who blinded their own children to keep the throne, and a former prostitute who commanded a fleet of 40,000 pirates and retired with a fortune. These 10 women didn't ask for permission to lead. They seized power with both hands and left a trail of bodies behind them. They proved that while a crown is heavy, it's much easier to wear when you've eliminated everyone else who wanted it. Number 1. Saint Olga of Kiev, the Saint of Vengeance, 945 AD. Let's start with the most terrifying revenge story in medieval history, Olga of Kiev. When the Drevlian tribe killed her husband, Prince Igor, they made the fatal mistake of thinking Olga was a weak widow. They sent ambassadors to suggest she marry their prince. Olga welcomed the first group by having them thrown into a massive trench and buried alive. She invited a second group for a relaxing bath before burning the bathhouse down with them inside. Still not satisfied, she organized a funeral feast for her husband, got 5,000 Drevlians drunk, and had her soldiers massacre every single one of them. For her grand finale, she besieged their city and asked for a tribute of 3 pigeons and 3 sparrows from each house. She tied burning sulfur to the birds' feet and released them. They flew home to their nests, and the entire city caught fire simultaneously. Ironically, she was later canonized as a saint. Number 2. Caterina Sforza, the Tiger of Forlì, 15th century. Caterina Sforza was an Italian noblewoman who had exactly 0 patience for threats. When her enemies captured her children and held them hostage outside her fortress walls, they demanded she surrender or they would execute the kids. Caterina didn't panic. She climbed to the top of the fortress walls, lifted her skirt in defiance, and screamed that she had the equipment to make more children whenever she pleased. The attackers were so stunned by her cold-blooded resolve that they didn't know how to react. Her bluff worked. The children survived. Later, she personally defended her fortress against the infamous Cesare Borgia, fighting alongside her men until she was finally captured. Even then, she tried to assassinate her captor with letters soaked in poison. She was a woman who simply did not know the meaning of the word surrender. Number 4. Queen Zinga of Ndongo and Matamba, 1622. Queen Zinga of Ndongo and Matamba fought Portuguese colonizers in Angola for over 40 years, and she did it with unmatched style. During peace talks with the Portuguese governor, Zinga arrived to find only one chair in the room, the governor's. He wanted her to stand like a servant. Zinga simply snapped her fingers, and one of her attendants dropped to all fours. She sat on his back like it was a throne and conducted the meeting as an equal. She was a master of shifting alliances, converting to Christianity to gain European support and then discarding it when it no longer served her. She personally led troops into battle well into her 60s and created a kingdom so resilient it outlasted her by decades. She wasn't just a warrior, she was a political genius who knew exactly how to play her enemies against each other. Number 5. Kutulan, the unbeatable wrestler, 13th century. Kutulan was a Mongolian princess and the great-great-great-granddaughter of Genghis Khan. She decided that any man who wanted her hand in marriage had to defeat her in a wrestling match first. If the suitor lost, he had to give her 100 horses. According to legend, she accumulated 10,000 horses and 0 husbands through this arrangement. Her father loved her prowess because she was more effective than any general, often riding into the thick of battle to snatch enemy soldiers right off their horses. Marco Polo even wrote about her, describing her as a warrior who could charge into enemy lines and capture prisoners as if they weighed nothing. Eventually, she married for political reasons, but only to a man of her own choosing, no wrestling required.
Number 6. Wu Zetian, China's only female emperor, 690 AD. Wu Zetian remains the only woman in Chinese history to rule as emperor in her own right. Her rise to power makes modern political dramas look tame. She entered the palace as a low-ranking concubine and worked her way to the top through absolute ruthlessness. Rumors suggested she murdered her own infant daughter and framed the empress to eliminate her rivals. Whether the rumors were true or propaganda, Wu successfully established a network of secret police and informants to crush any opposition. When she finally took the throne at age 67, she ruled for 15 years and was surprisingly competent. She expanded the empire and reformed the government to promote people based on talent rather than family name. She was as brilliant as she was terrifying. Number 7. Thymiris, the conqueror of conquerors, 530 BC. Thymiris was the queen of the Massageti, a nomadic warrior people, and she was the woman who finally ended Cyrus the Great. Cyrus had conquered almost the entire known world and thought the Massageti would be an easy target. He tried to trick them by leaving a camp full of wine, getting the warriors drunk, and then slaughtering them, including Thymiris' son. Grieving and furious, Thymiris sent Cyrus a message promising to give him more blood than he could drink. In the massive battle that followed, the Persian army was crushed and Cyrus was killed. Thymiris reportedly found his body, cut off his head, and shoved it into a wineskin filled with human blood, telling the dead king to finally drink his fill. It was a brutal end for one of history's greatest conquerors. Number 8. Hatshepsut, the king who was a queen, 1478 BC. Hatshepsut ruled Egypt for over 20 years, and she did it by adopting the full imagery of a male pharaoh. She wore the ceremonial false beard, used male pronouns in official records, and had herself depicted with a male physique and statues. She didn't call herself queen, she was king. Her reign was a golden age of prosperity, massive building projects, and successful trade expeditions. After her death, her stepson tried to erase her from history by chiseling her name off monuments and smashing her statues. He wanted to make it look like her reign never happened. He failed. We remember her as one of the most successful rulers in Egyptian history, while he is often just a footnote in her story. Number 9. Boudica, Rome's worst nightmare, 60 AD. Rome made a catastrophic mistake when they decided to humiliate Queen Boudica of the Iceni. After her husband died, the Romans seized her land and publicly flogged her. In response, she raised an army of 100,000 furious Britons and went on a rampage of pure destruction. She burned 3 major Roman settlements to the ground, including Londinium, modern London. Archaeologists can still find a Boudica destruction layer of red ash under the streets of London today. It's estimated that 70,000 to 80,000 people died in her revolt. Eventually, the Roman legions managed to crush her army through superior tactics, but Boudica chose to poison herself rather than be captured and paraded through Rome in chains. Today, her statue stands right next to the UK Parliament. Number 10. Candace Amanirenas, the One-Eyed Queen, 30 BC. Amanirenas was a warrior queen of the Kingdom of Kush, and she forced the Roman Empire to respect her borders. When Rome conquered Egypt, they assumed the south was safe. Amanirenas launched a surprise attack, capturing Roman forts and taking bronze statues of Emperor Augustus as trophies. The Romans counterattacked, and the war lasted for years. Amanirenas fought in person and even lost an eye in battle, earning her the nickname the One-Eyed Queen.
Eventually, Rome realized the war was too costly and negotiated a peace treaty on her terms. As a final insult, she buried the bronze head of Emperor Augustus under the steps of her temple, so that every person entering would literally step on the face of the Roman emperor. History proves that power doesn't have a gender, it only has an appetite. These women didn't just survive in a world built for men, they dominated it, often using tactics their male counterparts were too afraid to try. Whether it was wrestling, piracy, or psychological warfare, they left a mark on the world that can never be erased. So the next time you hear about a great king, remember that somewhere in the shadows of history, there was probably a queen who was twice as dangerous and 3 times as smart. Which of these rulers was the most terrifying to you? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the legends of the past.